You began to dig, Elizabeth, and your husband was the tool that was used to make you aware that, nope, you're not done yet. As you began to dig deeper and began to release yourself from that cage, because that compartment that we've learned to live and put to shield ourselves, to protect us, it's guarding us from whatever. How did you begin to dismantle that? Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, guys, it is my honor to welcome our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things, very expensive time. 24 hours has been offered to every man and woman on this planet. How you utilize that 24 hours, I take, telling you guys, will expose your sins. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It created Elizabeth. It gave her some stuff, and we want access to that. In order for her to allow access to us, she has to become vulnerable. And so we want to honor her for that as well. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Life.
Ken, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you and your mission, the mission of your podcast, because it really feels important. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is usually how I give you an opportunity to, I love to throw this question to everyone. And once, it gives you an opportunity to first give you your name, introduce yourself, and then answer the question. The question that I'll toss to you, like I toss to everyone else, is how do you serve mankind? Because it's a latter part of our journey that I talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am a mental health therapist in the United States, as well as what I call myself as a soul support for highly sensitive women. And so I hopefully provide the gateway for people to heal. I am there to guide, but be their support too, to help them sort of get to the other side of whatever it is they're struggling with.
That is awesome. I love that. As we serve, now I tell people once we serve, we get to enjoy all of the wonderful things as we see others come to the knowledge of who they are, if you will. One of our customs here, Elizabeth, is to go back to our beginnings and giving the audience an opportunity to get to meet you. And that is the family. We're usually there for about 16 to 18 years. And in that first location, we're going to learn a couple of things before we head out to quote unquote become adults. We're going to learn our behavior. We're going to learn about mindset. We're going to learn about communication skills, all those wonderful things. And a lot of times trauma takes place here. And I tell people trauma gives birth to who we are. What was your family unit like?
So I grew up, I'm one of four kids. My parents were married until I was in the eighth grade. So a young teen, 14, I think, when my parents divorced. But prior to that, which was a difficult experience as it is for many children, when I was really young, I was abused by a family member, and there was no help, right? I mean, my sister and I were able to ask for help and ask for support, but pretty much what we got was like, you'll have to figure out how to protect yourself. And so I
Wow.
grew up honestly with a lot of fear, and I was a very anxious child, which it took me, years of growth and a lot of help with therapy to figure out that a lot of the anxiety stemmed from that,
Mhm.
without the support or the safety that I needed. My fear just showed up as me being very, very anxious. And yeah, yeah.
I tell people the first stage of us dealing or handling our trauma, survival mode. We as humans will try to find a way to cope. Anxiety, people pleasing. Some of us go on the other side as far as a perfectionist, all these other ways and tools by which some people withdraw, some handle it through laughter, comic as a relief. So we find a way by which to handle it because it's such a traumatic situation. How was Elizabeth showing up with others? What was her communication skills like outside of family?
Was not I the way I created safety in my world was to, find like one person who would be my person, right? So I'd have a best friend.
Yeah.
or I'd have like a very tiny core of people that I felt safe with. But for me, if that was shaken, the safety within that relationship, it was very easy for me to just shut people out and to say, like, I'm not, I'm going to leave them behind. As a child, I feel like I was a pretty chatty kid. I often got in trouble in school for
Yeah.
talking instead of listening. But I feel like in a lot of ways, because school is so, and our culture is so, stay quiet, be the listener, don't be the speaker. That got lost along the way, I think. That sort of lively spirit of just wanting to enjoy and have fun. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that I gained from my abuse, if you will, was I was able the gift of compartmentalizing things. I had learned in order to survive, I had to do that.
Yeah.
And it is can become very destructive later on in life. As you're heading towards college, this is one of the main phases of one of the first crossroads, if you will, Elizabeth, that we come to as a young individual. College and as far as field of study, what did you pick? If you pick college, what field of study did you pick and why?
I picked international relations, which is funny. I mean, I enjoyed languages, but I was not like a super scholar. I did well, but I had to work hard. But the group of people that I met as a freshman, as a first year in college, were international students. And so I became very involved in the international center there at the college where I was, got to meet people from all over the world, which I think is why I still love to travel. So that got me interested in international relations, and I thought that that would be a good path. Unfortunately, at that time, too, I got involved with a young man who was not very kind to me. Yeah, was emotionally abusive, and I kind of got stuck in that relationship for a period of time and lost my way with college, and so ended up. Uh, not completing, my four-year degree at that time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah,
And then you
and
went back
ended up
later, which
working in
is interesting.
I
I love,
did,
I love
I
the
did.
age when you went back. So here's this young
Yeah,
girl, and again, we are an energetic being, and we usually attract the energy that we put out. And so,
yeah,
and most of
yeah,
that energy that we suffer or we put out is from when we're not awakened, if you will, is from that trauma. And we kind of bring people in that continues the process of traumatizing us and until that day. So here you already mentioned that you stayed there for a few years and it
yeah,
derailed everything that you had about you. What happened to make you come out of that?
yeah. That's a great question. I think for such a long time, I thought that what this person was giving me was love, like true love, like for whatever reason, like to me, it felt like the sort of disruptive, really the unsafety felt like home to me, right?
Yeah.
And so, uh, I think it took me meeting new people, spending time realizing that that was not what I deserved, and that there was a whole community of people that were kind and good to me and really helped me better recognize what I deserved. I also did some therapy in college too, and I think that was helpful as well. Yeah, it was really building a new community of friends is the thing that really shifted, made me strong enough to leave that relationship and come back to myself.
Find your tribe, people. I've been saying this for 3 years. Find your tribe. It is
So
one of the
true.
most important things that you will ever do in your life.
So,
Find
so true.
your tribe becomes your safe place. And when you're there, you're able to express self. You're able to expand. You're able, if you will, when you find your tribe. So find your tribe and become able, if you will. As you gain knowledge, you said you went to therapy, and therapy, some therapists know what to do, and some is just time. You're just there.
Mhm, mhm.
As you learned about you and that that was not normal and just, um, or it's not love. And I've come to, I'm 63 and I've learned a lot from interviewing people and from my life personally. When an individual go on the journey, if you will, on self-development, they go, one of the very first things they have to deal with is self-love. Now, I believe that those that are not awakened to self-love and do not know and have not learned to forgive themselves, have not truly learned to love themselves, cannot really truly love anyone else because they have no baseline. They may function on the emotional aspect of endorphin and all those other stuff. That's great. But when one falls in love with self first and recognize the monster that we have been, we call ourselves monsters. And if we can look at that individual and love that individual, then when someone like that turns to you and say, I love you. They know what that is. They have located the baseline and they're saying that they love you from the fact of knowledge, knowing that they love themselves. When you meet someone like that and they say, I love you, hold on to that individual. So here you are, Elizabeth, you're moving through life and, life happens. I call it the life happens period. We have been open up to spiritual things, principles, but we're dabbling. We're not really serious, just dabbling. As you're dabbling, like every one of us, how is she doing?
Yeah. Ooh, she was trying to find her way. I ended up getting married and having children. I'm still married to my husband now almost 40 years, which is lovely. But I
Congratulations.
had kids and that opened up a whole nother, I don't know what it was, a whole other window into myself, right? To
Pandora's
be
box, as they
raising
say.
yeah, yeah, to be raising children and consciously raising them in a way that was different from how I was raised. Like, so it really became important to me to be there emotionally for my kids. Did I truly love myself at that time? No, but did it help to have kids who loved me
Hmm.
unconditionally to help me love myself better? Absolutely. But I worked really hard to really kind of learn about just the developmental patterns of children and how to best serve them as they were growing up. But I was still kind of fumbling my way through. Had a lot of postpartum depression, which I did not recognize until much later, looking back.
Yeah.
Not surprising, my anxiety didn't just go away. I still
Hmm.
was a very anxious human. Yeah, but it definitely having kids and being married, I wanted very much to create the family that I didn't have.
Yeah. One of the driving force, the compass that I tell people, learn to understand your compass. What's driving you? Look at your compass. It'll tell you, plain as day. And kids are one of the greatest teachers on the planet. I don't know where I would be if my kids that never came into my life. I have no idea. I don't think I'd be alive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know
I
either.
know I wouldn't be on
Too.
this podcast because all my wisdom and everything that people tell me I have came from those four boys that correct me and dance with dad. And they are my best friends. I have five sons and one was living with his mom and the other four were with me. So
Mm,
those guys, man,
yeah,
they made me who
yeah,
I am. So I understand what you're talking about. So talk to us as to that day when you stop dabbling and the reality of all things comes to, I call it the crescendo moment when the crystals, the cymbals hit like bolero, boom, and all this noise and your world comes crashing. But it's a great place because it tells us that if we don't have those hard times, we won't know what resilience is all about. So talk to us about
yeah.
that, the entrance where everything stops in the sense where you stop dabbling and the reality of the entrance, the walk now becomes priority in your life.
Yeah, I think it was building when I realized much I how much I wanted to understand our psyche, like my own, but also my kids. Going back to school, so I went back to get my undergrad degree in my 40s, then at 50 went back for my master's degree so I could be a therapist, it made me realize how much left there was for me to heal,
Yeah.
and so that became my mission. Along with being in school and learning how to help others, I realized that I really had to learn how to help myself in a much, much deeper way. And so recommitted to therapy with a therapist that was okay, but then really found therapists and colleagues who guided me to much deeper work to really, as you said, find the love for myself that had felt so elusive for such a long time, to really be able to see myself and my parts and all the versions of me along the way, to really truly love me. And, I feel as if I don't know where I would be if that journey hadn't started.
Talk to me about that journey, Elizabeth, because a lot of people that are listening to us, they may say journey, what journey? New ones to personal development. Some of those that are dabbling in personal development and stuff like that, maybe going,
Mhm.
their ears got a little pricked up and wanting to know a little detail about that. Because that is an important aspect. Here is a young girl that was violated, and anxiety and all of those different things that came along with that, and the trauma that she had encountered, sought help, was refused help by quote unquote the adults, and basically allowed to fend for herself. And now she has fended for herself for many years, got abused on the way there. She now sits in a arena whereby she's studying all of these wonderful things, and therapists and psychology of human being. And when you study that, you're getting all kinds of deep data. And now you recognize that this girl has to fall in love with herself, deal with the trauma, expose it, go inside, cry, fall apart, come up, all those wonderful things that happens when we go there and unleash the trauma, the pain that we have been holding on to for many years. But the principle is this: and you shall know the truth, and the truth is going to set you free. As you began to dive into locating the truth of your
Mhm.
trauma, explain to us that little journey there that caused you to embark on loving yourself. What did it look like?
Yeah. Well, I think it started with um, the woman who was mentoring me at the time and providing me with um, consultation as I was beginning to become a new therapist. She recommended, I don't know if you're familiar with Kristen Neff's work on self
Mhm.
compassion. And also at the
Love her
time
stuff.
I was living. Yeah, yeah, love her stuff. So began a self-compassion practice, which also led me to really commit myself to meditation more fully.
Mhm.
I realized that
You were dabbling.
my husband, yeah, I was dabbling, but my husband used to say, "You just need to sit still." And because of my anxiety, I was always up
Yeah.
doing, what else needed to be done. And so to learn to sit with myself and my feelings was a challenge. And it was what I really needed to do, because I really wasn't listening to me, the parts of me that were needing love, attention, care, compassion. It was always like finding ways to criticize myself or sort of turn that abuse back on my own parts, right? And so I began the practice of listening to myself through meditation, through self compassion practice, through movement, mm, practice yoga for a long time, had learned through yoga, but therapy too, that I had really disconnected, sort of compartmentalized my body
Hmm.
into like a whole other place,
Yeah.
right?
Another
Like,
place.
and so reconnecting with my body and what I was feeling inside with compassion. And so I would say all of those things have helped. I also more recently, have been doing pretty intensive therapy with a practitioner who works with internal family systems, or IFS, which is parts work. And so, really getting to know all of my parts with compassion, like the little girl, the critical parts, all of them, to really just build a much more compassionate, loving, kind, caring relationship with myself.
I heard you guys. I hope you listened to what Elizabeth said. Elizabeth is talking about all those tools that assist you to bring you out of that trauma. Meditation, yoga. These are powerful tools, man. I'm telling you, that will change your life once you begin to apply it and find what's comfortable for you. Some people journaling, some people walking in nature. Whatever is comfortable for you, find it and do that and use those, and it'll help you move through quickly, and you'll be able to get in touch with that beautiful young individual that you are. And one of the things that once you have reconnected with that individual, make sure that your language is not as harsh. Learn to speak to that individual with love and respect and honor, because she was brutalized, he was brutalized, and he could not have done anything because he was a young individual. But you are there now to comfort that young individual and give them the opportunity to cry, give them the opportunity to bawl, give them the opportunity to experience and release all of the emotion that they had stored that they could not do when they were young. Embrace them, hug them, and then turn to them and say, "It's okay, I got you." And begin to work and together and heal yourself so that that individual can become proud of you. That is the journey. All of you guys that are listening to us, that is it. That is the purpose of the journey, the first aspect of it. When you get to know who you are, love you, and then you're moving through, you using the tools to get you out, you're coming out, and then you're ushered into the servant aspect. Talk to me about that, Linda. How did that synchronize? Because there is a synchronicity to life if you pay attention. How did
Yes.
that synchronize to the fact that because your journey is designed to take you to your assignment? Everyone has jobs, but that's not what you're called to do here. You're brought here on this planet because you have an assignment, and the journey is to uncover it, and then you discover it, and then you are landed. How did you land? How did it synchronize?
Yeah. Well, it was interestingly, as I sort of took a step back and looked at the clients who were coming to see me, the clients who were attracted, either through my website or whatever. I was seeing clients who had experienced a lot of the similar things that I had, right? There was a lack of emotional connection and safety in their childhood. And so it helps, like helping clients move through and to be able to see themselves and love themselves has been so powerful for me, but also a beautiful witnessing of their
Yeah.
journeys too. And recently I was working with a coach, and, she was like, "What is your soul purpose?" Right. And I was like, I feel like my sole purpose is to be the person who holds the door open to self love. That, like, we can all find it. It's just sometimes we think that door is closed for us. And I just want to be the door opener to say, it's here. Here's the path. You can love yourself too.
Yeah, it's possible. You know, it's really funny, Elizabeth. A lot of people don't know that it is possible.
I know.
A lot of people are so programmed and so connected to the default programming. I worked in healthcare, and a lot of part of my healthcare business was skilled nursing facility. And I remember when I was navigating towards there because of my parents and stuff like that, my sister told me, who was in there much earlier than I, don't come here because what it does, it exposes everything that you are. You get to meet people that believed in the program, never got a chance to find out who they are. And I didn't even know that self-love was available to them in their 80s and 90s on their way out. Didn't have a clue. And so to me, that was one of the most tragic things I ever seen in my life. And from conversation with many of those that were there, because I love talking with them because of their history that they have. So here
Mm.
you are, Linda, you were navigated, synchronized because you saw the type of people that were attracted to you because again, the energy
Mm.
that we are, and you are familiar with that energetic aspect of a being, and they come to you because you have what is necessary to escort them out of their pain. Because you've been there, you escorted yourself out. So here you are. You are doing this thing, and the thing about when you're awakened, and you're never satisfied with complacency, if you will.
True.
Talk to me about that because complacency always comes and tries to creep in to keep us
Mm.
comfortable and stuff like that. But God will always come and says, I want to expand you. I want you to see a little more of how great you are. Talk to me as to when that day happened because it happens to every single one of us. I don't care who we are, when we become to relax, if you will, and become complacent. And then that drumbeat begins to happen within you that says, nope, you are not allowed to do that. I
It's
have
not
other
time yet.
things for you. I have other things for you to do. Talk to me about that. What was it that manifested and how did you become obedient to it? Because we do have to become obedient. Obedient meaning that we have to come to a place of surrendering. We have to go, all right, you win. So talk to me about that.
Well, it's funny. I think for me, and I hadn't really thought about this until you asked, but I think for me, it was so my kids, my youngest is, I have three boys. My youngest is going to be 29 this year. So, yeah, my kids are older. It was having them gone, launched they're all doing really well and having their own lives. But it was when I think my husband and I were having a conversation and he said something to me like, well, you just don't even let me in. Like, I don't feel like, and he didn't say this out, like, he didn't say, I don't know you, but it was as if he felt there was some barrier that
Yeah.
kept me from being fully present with him. And one, I was shocked because I was like, I feel like I'm an open book. I feel like I'm sharing my soul here, realizing that I still had these walls of protection up, even with him, who I've been, like I said, I've been married for almost 40 years, right? And so that just opened up for me, or it allowed me to see that there was more opening that needed to happen for myself, that I was still living with this wall of protection that was keeping me from feeling connected to other people too.
Yeah.
Not only were they not feeling connected to me, but I was feeling disconnected and lonely and like, what's wrong with my life? And that just pushed me to not meditate harder, but you know what I mean? It got me to do more in-depth work to better understand what those barriers of protection were for. Like, why did I feel like they were still necessary? And safe ways of showing up and being more myself. And again, finding the compassion for those parts that felt like I still needed to protect myself when
Mhm.
life was pretty good, right?
Yeah. Guys, I want to tell you something about this journey. The only way for you to know that there is more work to be done in you, someone has to say something to unearth it in you. It's the only way you're not going to, just drift off one day and say, oh, I need to work on that. No, somebody has to come and trigger you. And when someone comes and trigger you, that is an opportunity. It is done. I think God synchronizes it to make it happen because he wants you to know there is more work. And the only way that he can do that is to have someone come and push your buttons. And when they push those buttons, most of us will respond with flowery languages and stuff like that. and you're bent out of shape and the other person is crazy because I'm not like that. We come with all kinds of excuses. But back up for a minute. The only reason why that happens and you're triggered because you need to do more work. It's the only way that I know that will make you aware that there is more work to be done. I don't know of any other way. I'm here on this planet 63 years old, and I swear I've been looking for other ways because, I want things to
It
be
would be
easy once
easier,
in a while.
wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
But that's not the case. So here you are, you began to dig, Elizabeth, and your husband was the tool that was used to make you aware that, nope, you're not done yet. As you began to dig deeper and began to release yourself from that cage, because that compartment that we've learned to live and put to shield ourselves, to protect us, it's guarding us from whatever. How did you begin to dismantle that? What did you bring in?
I wish I could say
Man,
I
that was
did
a
it all
deep sigh. You
myself.
got to see a
Yeah.
whole bite.
And it took work. It's taking work still.
Yeah.
I really had to look at really how much fear I was still carrying. And honestly, had you asked me prior to that conversation with my husband, I probably would have been like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything. I am cool, right? I
Yeah.
am good. My anxiety's better. I'm fine. And that just led me to a much bigger awakening on how much fear I carried all the time with people I loved, people I felt safe with. There was still fear. And so, really diving deeper into how deeply rooted that fear was, it really helped me just become more open, but also be able to almost update these parts that were still stuck in the fear to be like, I'm safe now. I can keep myself safe. I know what safety feels like. And I want these scared parts to come with me here where I can be safe and where we can be safe. And so, it's a continued journey, but I do feel like I don't have that much anxiety anymore, honestly. Like I feel I can be open and honest with my husband and friends. And the amazing thing about that is that then that shifts in them too, right? Like
Hmm.
my guarding created guarding in them as well, right? It kept this barrier between us. And by sort of opening the door to the people who truly do feel safe to me, it shifted relationships that I didn't know needed shifting.
Vulnerability is the most beautiful thing, one of the most beautiful things you will ever encounter in life. Learn to be vulnerable. I'm telling you, people, especially men. You'll see how beautiful you are and what comes out of that. You have a mic, Elizabeth. You have
Hmm.
all these sensitive women that are out there that have gone through all kinds of things, all kinds of degrading things, belittling in marriage, the abuse that women have from a religious point of view. They have all these things that women have been abused by and with and through. You have a mic that is connected to all of them, all those beautiful, sensitive women that are in pain. What would you say?
Well, I would say I see you. I hear how hard it is. And I know that healing is possible, that I know that you are worthy of healing.
I'm going to leave it at that, guys, because I think that is a powerful statement in itself. Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Ken. This was really lovely.
You are welcome. I totally enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully, you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.